Are you tired of being a target for toxic people? People that cause you interference, destructive interference. It causes an emotional drain. They manipulate your mind. Well, according to Carl Jung, the secret to actually becoming psychologically unavailable to any of them is actually integrating your own shadow with yourself. The deepest, darkest parts of yourself. By you actually acknowledging these and embracing these hidden aspects, you stop projecting your low vibration and limitation and fear and vulnerability to other people. You basically make yourself invisible to any and to all toxic people. Now, what you need to understand about this journey that you're going to go on, because you have to go on a journey. You must go on a journey of self-discovery of your own self. You must actually commit to self-awareness, self-understanding. I'm not talking about just those, you get the self-help quotes from people and they talk about the catchy phrases and no, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about actually creating real boundaries within yourself. This leads to healthy understanding and relationships with yourself and then other people. Now you can actually find freedom. But what I've understand is that freedom comes from having the ability and expressing the ability to be disliked. Having that courage to do what's best for you regardless of the fact somebody cares about it, approves of it, disapproves of it, likes it, or not. I've been studying the shadow work principle from Carl Jung for quite some time. And he's the founder of what you call analytical psychology. I've also been studying Alfred Adler. He's the founder of what you call individual psychology. Two things that really resonate with me because of the simple fact that they put the ownership and the accountability of your life and life experiences to your own intentions and your own goals. That's why I think it's so powerful to understand these concepts. Now, what I've also understood about these two gentlemen is that they really have a focus on our unconscious patterns for us to be able to see these patterns and be able to integrate them in a healthy way and how it affects our relationships and our actual behavior. So, negative patterns in your relationships, what do they stem from? They stem from destructive behaviors that we exhibit or we attract through entanglement with other people. It's often rooted in early experiences, obviously unresolved emotional issues, because in Adlerian psychology, he made this claim, which I completely 100% agree with, that there's no such thing as trauma. Everything is predicated on a goal. So, toxic people may be attracted to our vulnerabilities, to our vulnerable spots, because they're highlighted by our unresolved emotional issues. We haven't dealt with why we're afraid. We haven't dealt with why we feel shame or why we feel guilt or why we feel fear. We haven't dealt with that. And because we haven't dealt with that, you can't attract the people who have dealt with that. I mean, it's actually a powerful way of looking at it because it says what you're putting out is coming back to you. So therefore, you must put something out that makes sense, that actually is predicated upon the golden rule perspective of life. So you have to transform yourself by actually becoming aware of yourself. You must know who you are and whose you are. What I say is, you understand the I am principle. That means that you understand whose you are. Whose. So there's a bigger light that's within you, that's embedded within you, that's causing all these wonderful things to either happen to you or not happen to you. When you can see it from that perspective, you change your perspective on your view of yourself. You change your perspective on how you view your own self-image changes. You see, you have to examine the parts of you that you may be ashamed of, or that you hide or keep away from other people. Maybe you're a beautiful person, but you hate to express your beauty. Maybe you're a handsome person, you're afraid to express your beauty. Maybe you're a wonderful speaker, but you don't like talking, you don't like public places. Maybe you're a genius person, but you don't like to show out your inventions. What is all due to is simply the fact that you think other people are either your enemies or your comrades. You have to figure out which one that you truly believe. Are they your friends or are they against you? I'm here to say that the majority of people don't understand that people are their friends. The majority of people don't understand that people are here for their well-being. They're here for your well-being, I promise you. You aren't thinking of that because you aren't thinking of the self as yourself. You're looking at the self as something that's separate from you. It's not separate from you. Nothing in this entire energetic realm we call our own universe is separate from us. So once you embrace these hidden aspects of yourself, you heal those wounds and you become more of a whole person. Once you become more of a whole person, you can walk outside freely with freedom because you don't care about what anybody thinks about you. So let's figure out the steps, because the first step is you must integrate the shadow. Now, how do you do that? First and foremost, you must recognize what you consciously or unconsciously project onto other people. Do you project strength? Do you project power, assertiveness, support, fear, insecurity? What do you project onto other people? Because in that, you will realize that what people are giving back to you is what you're projecting out towards them. Okay? Then you must pay attention to your own triggers and investigate the emotions and the beliefs underlying those things. It's not traumas, okay? It's a goal. I guarantee you, it's a goal. When you look at it from the perspective of what is my end goal, you will then shift your perspective so that you can figure out what your end goal is, because you need to figure out what that end goal is. You see, you can't alter objective facts about things. There's universal laws that we all have to be governed by. But you can alter subjective interpretations as much as you want, because we all live in a subjective world. So whatever you think, whatever you feel, whatever you want to project on the screen in space, whether it's delusional in whatever type of way, that's up to you. You have the right to do whatever you want to do, because there's no such thing as an objective truth other than the universal laws that govern everything. Okay? So, once you pay attention to those triggers, you can figure out how to journal them, how to write these experiences that you've had, how to engage with different practices to explore these darker aspects of yourself. And then, from then, you can become invisible to toxic people. That's the second stage. Once you heal those wounds and integrate your shadow self, you no longer offer the same emotional cracks that toxic people can exploit. It ain't gonna happen. When you're no longer resonating with low vibration, destructive interference, negative patterns, toxic people lose interest in you because they find your presence uninviting, because you aren't in a realm of self-sabotage anymore. You don't want to hurt yourself. You don't want to harm yourself. You want to grow yourself. And because that person does not want to grow themselves, they don't want to be associated with you. It ain't gonna happen. So don't worry about that. Because what you realize is that this whole universe is governed by sound, frequency, and vibration. Once someone is no longer in resonance with you, you won't even see that person walking across the street. They can be your neighbor, but you won't even catch on to them. So it's not about actually fighting toxicity or toxic people. It's transcending the need for validation, which again is the courage to be disliked, from those people who reside in your shadow perspective, your toxic self. Now, when you free yourself from negative patterns of relationships, what happens? Self-awareness is essential for avoiding toxic relationships, because you have to have that. If you don't know, you'll get into relationships that aren't going to be serving you. I've done it multiple times. My most recent was not in a way of elevation for me, because of the fact that I was so focused on other people's tasks that I forgot about myself. Not in a realm where I was completely lost, but I was hoping to have more of a team concept, and I got a competition aspect in my relationship, which was the complete opposite than what I wanted. And so it wasn't in resonance with me. But rather than me having the courage to be disliked by my partner, I decided to stay in my relationship, which only could hurt me at the end. It won't, you know, you can think about leading the horse to the water, but again, you can't make them drink. So all I'm doing is providing the tools and things, hoping that this person will get it, but it's not up to me if they get it or not. It doesn't matter. It's only predicated on if they decide if they want to get it or not. So as you explore and you heal this shadow self, because that was the wound that I had, you know, thinking I can help everybody, but I didn't look at it from lead the horse to the water, but you can't make them drink perspective of being a healer or a helper or a therapist or someone who can, you know, assist people with being well. It's not my job to make you well. It's my job to bring you to an environment that you can get well, but you have to bring yourself to the awareness that this is the environment and you go towards it. And you basically change your lifestyle, you change your attitude, because that's based upon your personality. Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about your personality creates your personal reality. People don't actually realize that personality is predicated also upon their lifestyle, which is why my company is called Alkalign Lifestyle, because I want people to live an energetic and also an aligned, neutral perspective on life. So as you heal those wounds, not traumas, okay? And what I mean by heal those wounds is a change in your goals. As you change your goals, your intentions, you build healthy relationships and walk into a world more confidently, because that's your goal. Some people have a goal to hide, and they do it all day long, every day, every moment. But once you strive for self-understanding and awareness, you will find liberation from the invisible, unconscious behaviors and patterns, subconscious things that you've been programming from years on in self-imposed change. So, you have a shadow and interactions with toxic people. What draws toxic people to our shadow? The unresolved aspects of our actual psyche. When we deny, when we repress, when we hide our shadow, it creates emotional leaks that signal our vulnerabilities. All of a sudden, that is the vibration that we are giving out into the world. That's the frequency that we're on. Toxic people can send that out a mile away. They're drawn to these emotional gaps as they can exert control and feed off of the drama. Once you realize that psychic integrity, integrating your shadow, it repels toxic people because they can't exploit our insecurities, because you no longer have any. You literally just gave up those insecurities, because this is what people do. They have these complexes. There's feelings of inferiority, and there's inferiority complexes, okay? The feelings of inferiority and inferiority complex, they're different, okay? Because what one is that inferiority, the feelings of inferiority can trigger you to improve yourself and to grow and to strive. You're saying, I feel like I don't have enough money. I need to make more money. I feel like I don't have enough strength. I need to go to the gym. I feel like I'm not looking aesthetically, great. I need to groom myself or clean my fashion up. But then you have people who have an inferiority complex, and then that's when people use their feelings of inferiority as an excuse for not doing something. They say, because I didn't grow up in this environment, I can't have this. Because I don't know how to do this thing, I can't have that thing. So it's not that you can't be successful. It's that you don't want to be successful. It's not that you can't be healthy. It's that you don't want to be healthy. It's not that you can't be loving. It's that you don't want to be loving. That's how it goes to a person with an inferiority complex. They just keep saying, if only it weren't for this thing, I could do this thing. That's what Adler calls a life lie. That's a lie. That's not true. This thing is not keeping you from doing this thing. You just use that as an excuse to not do that. And you continue to reiterate the fact that this thing is there, and that's why you can't do it. That's incorrect. So then you have psychic integrity. That involves accepting and acknowledging what your shadow is. It creates an internal solidarity and an energy field that repels those who seek to exploit our insecurities, because now you have the courage to be disliked. So now it doesn't matter what anybody thinks about you, because you have the courage to be disliked. No matter if it's your spouse, no matter if it's your mom, your dad, your cousin, your sister, your brother, it don't matter who it is, your boss, your supervisor, doesn't matter who it is. You don't care anymore, because now you're so whole within yourself that you can go wherever you need to go. Wherever you desire, you're going to go. You're going to get there. And once you can gain psychic integrity, that requires really deep and painful self-reflection with yourself. You need to call yourself out, because you're calling yourself up. That's what you got to understand. You're calling yourself up. So here's how you recognize these projections. When you understand that your projections means that you're acknowledging that your feelings about others often reveals something about ourselves. When you meet or you encounter other people, those people whom you're meeting and that you're encountering are basically correspondence. That's a universal law. Your third eye. That's a law of correspondence. That's telling you that the people whom you are meeting they are a reflection of you. That's like a mirror neuron perspective. You're literally looking at somebody who's a reflection of you. They may be a different color, they may be a different height, maybe a different gender, but they somehow have something inside of them that is in a resemblance to you, and you have to understand what that is. We tend to be most irritated or fascinated by toxic people because they mirror our unhealed wounds. They mirror the things that we are missing within ourselves. Once you can examine these reactions that you have and identify the shadow and work towards psychic integrity, then all of a sudden you can move forward. The next step. The journey towards psychic integrity requires self-reflection. It's few people want to undertake this. It's like the journey of going towards the light. And you realize that you can always go towards the light. You don't have to sit in toxicity and negativity and a dark cloud. You can go towards the light. It's a choice that you are deciding to stay where you are. You are deciding not to change your lifestyle. You are deciding not to change your personality or change your attitude. You are deciding that. Nothing on the outside is stopping you from doing any of that except you. Okay? Once you recognize the pattern of attracting toxic people, that's the first step in understanding that your own shadow is the cause behind your effects. Not only your shadow, your own goals. You have a goal to attract these people within. You have a goal because you think that those people are good for you somehow, because they're good for you in maintaining the level of perspective that you have on life currently at your present. They're just reflections of the past, and you just are choosing not to go forward. As we learn to recognize and work with our projections, we can build psychic integrity and therefore create, again, healthier relationships. But you must understand toxic people. They instinctively know how to mess with your perception of reality. They instinctively know how to change what you believe. They can only do this if you allow them to. By reacting emotionally to their behavior. They cannot stand those people who do not react. So this is what Adler calls a power struggle. When people put you in a power struggle, They're looking to attempt to express their superiority over you. All you gotta do is just not participate. Because if you do participate, even unconsciously, you might participate and not even be knowing that you participated. And you may have won over them. All of a sudden, they'll have a revenge factor. And this happens in childhood, where you see children and parents. Parents give children or child an instruction, the child gets angry at the instruction, and then what happens is they rebel or engage in problem behavior, because then that's gonna put the parent on edge, or have the parent sitting there seeking to figure out what's wrong with them. And that's where you start to realize this is an issue, this is a problem. So neutrality is actually the antidote. When you're neutral, that's a powerful response to toxic people's problem behavior. It requires you to master the art of controlling your reactions, which can be really challenging, but you must learn that just because you have an emotion does not mean you gotta act upon it. Don't make that as an excuse of the emotion of anger for you to go blow up in front of people, or if you don't do that. Because emotions are just there as signals. This thing triggered you, okay, fine. Let it come through, wash over you, and then project what you want to project. Don't sit there and not be able to sit with it and then get angry and flip out and go over the edge with that. Become neutral. To do this, you must recognize what you're projecting outwardly and stop feeding the drama so that the pattern can just continue. Somebody wants to fight with you and you're going to put your hands up. No, don't put your hands up. Just turn around and be like, you know what? I'm good. You got it. And go ahead and usher your way out. See, and what's important is internal boundaries. When you have internal boundaries, they're fundamental in the integration of your shadow, because they help protect you from emotional blackmail and subtle manipulations and all these different things. To establish strong internal boundaries, you must know deep down that you don't need anybody's approval to exist, to be happy, to be healthy, to be wealthy, to be anything that you want to be. You have absolute clarity about who you are and about whose you are. So Jung says the shadow is a living part of our personality. It governs us from the unconscious as long as we don't integrate it. Meaning we must integrate it in order for us to be who we need to be. One of the biggest shadows that we carry is the idea that we need to be loved by everybody. Everybody needs to love us. Everybody needs to approve of us. Everybody needs to affirm of our greatness, which makes us vulnerable to toxic people's manipulations. That's the primary thing that I've noticed, because I thought that I had to be loved and cared for by everyone. But that's impossible. Somebody's not gonna like your ass. Somebody's not gonna like you. You may be the most wonderful person, great genius, helper. Somehow you'll be misunderstood by somebody, and look, you ain't gonna be 100% every single day. You have to get over that. You have to be able to accept that. And realize that shadow work involves recognizing and integrating your shadow, which helps you establish strong internal boundaries and maintain neutrality in the face of toxic people's problem behavior. That's one thing. It's like a shield. It requires, again, deep understanding of your emotions, your needs, your desires, and a willingness to explore the darker aspects of your personality. Because once you know your darkness from the inside, you know everybody else's darkness from the inside. That's emotional maturity. When you understand the importance of self-awareness and intuition, standing your ground and living authentically, unaffected by the fear of losing other people's acceptance, knowing that toxic people are repelled by boundaries, as they can no longer manipulate you or exploit you because you just don't care to participate in the game anymore. You're not playing the game no more. They're playing by themselves. They playing by themselves. That's it. What you do is you approach your own darkness from inside. You do it. Acknowledge the existence of your own unacceptable, ugly thoughts, negative thoughts, bad thoughts. You want power, you want status, you want to be seen, you want to be recognized. I don't know. You want $1 trillion, whatever you want. So what? There ain't a problem. People just think of it it's a bad thing. You know? Just think of it as a bad thing. It got nothing to do with you. That's your desire. Go get what you desire. Acknowledge it. It's fine. Once you acknowledge your need for power, once you acknowledge your need for respect, once you acknowledge your need for that, you acknowledge the existence of it, it only allows you to grow more whole within yourself. Now, recognize that when you hide this, it only allows you to become, I'll say, more susceptible to be vulnerable to attacks. And you must courageously face your fears no matter what. If you're lonely, if you have judgment or envy or jealousy, face them. You know, you have to come to terms fully with the darkness within you. You know, you must always choose authenticity. That's the last thing I'm going to say. Choose authenticity, because that's how you embrace the shadow. You choose authenticity. You refuse to hide or disguise who you truly are. You find integrity within yourself. You be honest and truthful no matter what. That's really it. Nothing to lose, nothing to gain, nothing to hide. It's a different way of looking at life. Realize that you're allowing your darkness to be seen makes you more whole. It makes you a whole integrated human being. You can't walk around and just be, always happy all the time. It doesn't make sense. You have to want something. You have to desire some things. When you gain the capacity to look at yourself objectively without being defined by flaws or your imperfections, you're able to actually walk and be whole. So you can embrace your shadow by recognizing your darker aspects of yourself and your personality. Once you do it, it makes you feel lighter, it makes you feel freer, it makes you feel more authentic. Integrating your shadow it helps you face your fears. It does. It helps you have the courage to be disliked. It helps you have that courage to stand alone on your own. You face those fears head on, and you make it easier to be true to yourself and be authentic. Carl Jung taught us that embracing our shadow doesn't mean becoming cruel or selfish or hideous or evil. It's not like that. Instead, you decide not to act on negative impulses because you understand them now. That's what he was saying. You can't hide them. You just understand them, and then you don't want to do it. When you come to terms with your shadow, the judgment of others cannot deeply affect you anymore, because when you come to terms with your own shadow, the judgment from other people on the outside doesn't even affect you. It doesn't have anything to do with you. And your inner peace becomes aligned with the higher reality, only accessible to those people who are free from fear and from darkness. So those with integrated shadows attract healthy, balanced individuals and people who are in alignment with constructively interfering with you, not destructively interfering with you. They give you great vibes, not bad vibes. They don't cancel out your energy waves. They amplify your energy waves. They foster positive interactions and also relationships. And that's what builds it, because now you have what's called community value. You have something that you can express from within everybody around you. And that's how it has an effect on your personal energy. Integrating your shadow helps you stop wasting your energy on your mask. You don't walk around trying to be fake, trying to hide yourself. You don't wear no more wigs. Leave the wigs alone. Leave the makeup, all that. Just leave it alone. Leave the BBLs, leave the fake breasts, leave everything alone. You don't need it. Just walk out as yourself. You can change yourself however you want to do it. You don't need to do anything fake. You don't want to attract fake? Don't be fake. That's real. As a result, you just feel more balanced. Your field is whole. You have less drained energy after social interactions, less inclined to engage in toxic behavior because you know how to say no. Say yes to what you want, say no to what you don't want. Just remember that which you resist persists. Always. That which you resist persists. When you integrate your shadow, you can break free from fear, from guilt, from anxiety. And as you confront your inner darkness, you learn how to release negativity and move towards authenticity. Once I learned how to do this, I instantly was able to free myself from all bad relationships, because the main one I had to free myself from was the one with myself. Nobody else, no woman, no friends, no business partner, no money, nothing could make me go against my own integrity. Okay, you don't have internal worry. It does not exist. Wherever the worry that may arise, there's always the shadows of other people involved. You're always looking at other people. It's interpersonal relationships. Alfred Adler said all problems are interpersonal relationship problems. If we didn't have anybody around us, we would have no problems, because based upon entanglement. You know, so when you think about it in that way, people who tell you things, and this is a really big thing for you to understand, that separating your task is imperative, because you must understand that if you get involved with toxic people, they're going to put you in a power struggle. So don't. Because if you wind up winning the power struggle, whether you know it or not, they may have seen that you won. They may have been competing. You may have just been walking. They'll go to a revenge stage, and that's the problem behavior. And then you'll have to, you have to look at it as how to diffuse the situation. Admitting fault is not defeat. I just say, you know what? That's me. My bad. And I just move on to the next one. It's not defeat. I'm diffusing. I can apologize when I understand accountability, and then that's when you really just get up and you move forward. You don't need to deal with people who make you explain yourself constantly, and that's a waste of your time. There's different ways of looking at interpersonal relationships. We're going to pull that card in another video. But this one, if this video helped you guys in any way, I want you guys to like, to share, subscribe to our channel. I provide a whole lot of not only quantum energetic, quantum physics, epigenetics, all types of different signal transduction. There's a whole plethora of things that we talk about on this channel, just to help you to regain neutrality, find a perspective of alkalinity, the alkalign lifestyle way, and get you to integrate every part of your being so that you can walk around here as a whole person. If you're looking for one-on-one coaching, cell detoxes, high value VIP retreats, take a look in our description below. And until next video, next time. All right. Peace.